So you want to rent in New York City. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through everything I learned and what I recommend so you can get that dream apartment. It is almost the end of October and I moved September 1st and I'm finally getting around to show you guys the 21 apartment tours I did in this video to find this one place. I reached out to over 100 people. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. If you know, you know, the rent cycle for August, September is like one of the hardest, most busiest and chaotic times of the year. I'm not even lying when I say to you guys, this was the most stressful experience in my entire life. And I feel like everyone says that with New York apartment hunting, but I'm not even joking. It's such a process and you're gonna see why. I'm first gonna be addressing why I'm moving, and you can skip through the chapters at the bottom of this video if you want to jump to another part. That old apartment was so iconic. It was my first ever New York City apartment and I lived there for a total of 2 years. I renewed once and this second renewal for the third year was just way too expensive. The renewal they were asking for was $6,200. We would have all been paying over $2K each for a bedroom, and that's just a little bit unreasonable if you have roommates in my opinion. I really wanted to experience living alone in New York City, and in this video there's a lot of studio tours, but I also quickly come to the conclusion that it was way too expensive to be living on my own in this economy and me still also paying for school tuition. It was just a lot at the moment. So there's also a mix of me looking at subleases in this video with potential roommates. Now for what I was looking for in a place. Originally my budget for a studio was $2,200 to $2,500, and $2,500 was definitely on the upper price of my budget, but I just wasn't really finding anything for $2,200. And then I quickly came to the realization if I was going to do roommates or a sublease, I wanted to be under $2K if I was going to be living with other people. The main areas I'll be looking at in this video is Midtown West, Upper East Side, the Upper West Side, and while I didn't really want to live in Hell's Kitchen, it is very adjacent to my school. I go to Fordham University, the Lincoln Center campus, so it's on the west side near Columbus Circle. So honestly, anything along the west side of Manhattan is what I was looking at. But I also was looking at places on the Upper East Side because the rent was a lot cheaper in Yorkville and Lenox Hill. And the main thing I also wanted to prioritize was to be super close to a subway station. The previous apartment I lived in was a 10-minute walk from the train, which might not seem like a lot. I just wanted to be like a 5-ish minute, like really close walk. While my old apartment was far from the subway station, it was within walking distance to my school, and I was realizing with this new place that I was going to find, I would have to unfortunately take the train to school, which honestly isn't a big deal. Like, I don't mind taking the train to commute, especially since this is my last year. So not needing to be in walking distance to my campus was not a priority anymore. It was just to be super close to a subway station under a 10-minute walk. I also wanted to prioritize being near Central Park, or any park to that matter. I would hate to take the train to go to the park. Like, I would just like to leave my apartment, walk like 20 minutes to something. I also wanted to prioritize laundry in building. I really got lucky with my last place having laundry in building, and it was actually on my floor. Natural lighting for filming was also one of my top priorities, and this is just also because I'm a content creator, so in order to create videos for you guys, like, I need to have not necessarily south-facing windows, but just bright windows. I can't have my bedroom windows face a brick wall. It's just not in the cards for me. Honestly, if I wasn't even a YouTuber, I still wouldn't want like no lighting in my room, just because the sunlight, like, I need that honestly for my mental health. And then the last thing was to have a doorman, but it wasn't necessary. And honestly, after looking at a lot of places in my budget, I didn't tour like any places with a doorman, I don't think. And once again, that's something I lucked out with. At my old building, I had a doorman and elevator, so I do miss that very much, but I knew when moving in there the first time that that place was luckiest find ever for the price point we first got it at. It's just obviously way too expensive now. Now we're gonna get into my guide on how to rent an apartment in New York City. The first thing is, how do you find an apartment in New York? The first website I highly recommend is streeteasy.com. It's literally apartments.com, but just for New York City. I would also highly recommend apartments.com, but some of the places I would reach out to on there just weren't getting back to me. I can also say the same thing about StreetEasy, but StreetEasy is a lot better about that. Two new websites I was actually looking at for subleases was, the first one was Lease Break, and they have a bunch of cheap subleases with roommates or without roommates. People list their apartments on there. And then also Rent Hop, which is also a really famous website for subleasing, where you can hop on people's leases or just sublease from an apartment from someone. Those ones are similar to Craigslist kind of vibes, and I was looking on Craigslist as well. I didn't really find much luck with Craigslist. Also, this is just a tip in general, but like, a lot of the apartment listings, while some of these listings may look beautiful in the pictures, you always want to go tour and see one in person. You never ever want to do a blind like sign on a lease like without seeing the apartment. There's like a lot of scams that happen, or not even scams. You'll see the apartment in person and it's nothing like the pictures. Now for the documents that you need to apply for an apartment in New York City. You first need your driver's license or your passport to verify your identity. You're also going to need your most recent pay stubs, a letter of an employment to verify that, or if you're self-employed like I am, you need an employment verification letter, and I just had my taxes person write this for me. You also need your last couple of bank statements. I used my 3 to 4 last bank statements, and then also your last 2 tax return years. Since it's 2025, they would want to see your 2024 and 2023 tax returns. Now, on top of these documents, New York is very notoriously known for having insane income requirements and fees. So if you're applying to an apartment all by yourself, you need to make 40 times the annual income. So just to do the math on that really quickly, if your rent is $2,500 for a studio apartment, you need to make 40 times that. So you need to make $100,000 a year. And not a lot of people make that income requirement, which is when you're gonna need a co-signer or a guarantor. A friend, family member, anyone can be your guarantor. They need to be making 80 times, which is $200K. Now, since this is also kind of insane, in my experience, like that just wasn't in the cards for me, both of those, you basically need to get a third-party guarantor. A third-party guarantor is basically this third-party service that you pay a big fee on. It really depends on your own income and how much your apartment rent is. They basically estimate it for you, and then you have to pay this expensive fee. And they're usually like really highly representative companies, so it's not even like an actual person. Like the company I used for my old apartment was theguarantors.com. That was the one that my building was taking, and when you use this third party, it basically just wipes all the income requirements because you just paid them a lump sum of money to bypass all of that. Now, some places don't take that. The building I was using my third party guarantor company at was a luxury high-rise building, and those seem to be more common buildings where it's more acceptable to use the third party. But if you're renting from like a landlord, they don't really accept those. And I've even seen it super strict to the point where your parent or guarantor, like your friend or family member, has to also be a New York resident or make New York state income. I don't really have a solution to that. It's more of just like what you can find on the market, and these are problems you might run into as well. Now on to fees, because you're gonna pay a lot of money up front just for this apartment. If you want to rent this $2,500 studio, they're gonna ask for your first month's rent, obviously. They're also going to ask for a security deposit, which is your first month rent as well, so another $2,500. And they're also going to ask for an application fee, which is around $20. I've seen some places charge $200, even $500 for an application fee, and I'm telling you right now, that is like a scam. They're usually $20 to $50 at most. And you would also have to pay a broker fee on top of all of this money, which is 15% of your annual rent, just for the person finding you the apartment, even though they didn't, because you have to do all the work in this. But that is no longer a thing because of the FAIR Act. It got passed in June of 2025. Now, while that sounds like a great thing, July 2025 is when New York City hit an all-time high on rent prices. So what I noticed this past summer in July and August is that a lot of the realtors weren't even publicly listing the apartment listings because they wanted you to hire them as a broker so they could get that 15% fee from you. But now they're like limiting the apartment search and making it harder for people to just get an apartment with no broker fee. But if you willingly hire a broker, be prepared to also pay that 15% annual fee on top of all the other fees I just talked about. Now let's get into all of the apartments I toured. Like I said, there is 21 apartment tours in this video, so buckle up. We're about to get going through these really quickly. And my moving vlog already went up, so you guys already know which one I picked if you have been watching my channel in the moving content. But if not, be prepared for a little surprise at the end, because I'm obviously going to tell you which one I ended up going with, because that's the one I'm living in right now. So I currently do live with roommates, but we're first going to start off with the studios. After the studios, we're going to go in with the 1 and 2 bedrooms, and then also some Facebook subleases. It is July 31st. I cannot believe it's that time of year again.
I already have really strong thoughts about this apartment. It's not exactly everything I'm looking for space-wise. It's in the perfect location. It's also in my budget. One of the only reasons why I'm looking at this studio. The floor plan was a little bit concerning, but I was like, I just have to see it in person.
The first apartment I toured was at the end of July, and it was on the Upper West Side, and it was a studio and a loft for $22.95. When I saw the pictures, it didn't even look that small as it does in this video, but the pros is that it had laundry and building, and then it was also super close to everything. Like, this place was literally right down the street from my old apartment, so I was still in the same area, and it was in a cute 4th floor walk-up. But the cons is that clearly you can see in this video, the place is so freaking small. There is no space for like a desk or a kitchen or a couch or anything. And even the loft didn't have a high ceiling. Like I would be waking up smacking my forehead on the ceiling like every single morning. If anything, the bathroom was the biggest room in that entire loft. It was a cute building though, but like it was quite literally unlivable in my opinion. Now, maybe I could have made it work for like $1,600 or something, but to charge almost $2,300 for that space is like literally insane. So we're clearly off to a great start. Now on to the next studio I toured. This was a Hell's Kitchen studio for $2,100. So we're getting a little bit down in the budget here. The pros to this apartment is that it was pretty, it had lots of light, it had a really great view as well for a studio. But once again, the cons is that it was so freaking small. Like it's just unlivable at this point. It was also a 4th or 5th floor walk up. I actually really liked this apartment. It was just like really, really small. But I liked how the kitchen was updated. Like the appliances were really, really nice for what it had.
Totally small studio, and it's a 5th floor walk up. I'd be jacked.
Then we got into another Upper West Side studio. This was on like 100th Street and this was $2,500. So it's on the higher end of my budget. Pros is that it did have a doorman and an elevator. This was one of the only places that I toured that had that. And the rent also included all utilities, which is great. The cons though is that it was really small and it smelled like a nursing home. For some reason, this whole entire building was very, very dirty. It was super outdated. The unit was clearly not cleaned out because the person was still living there. The bathroom was just diabolical. Like I think there was actual mold growing on the floor or something. I don't know. Then I toured another studio on the Upper West Side for $1,900. The pros is that it was rent stabilized. Like you don't find that deal. Like $1,900 is crazy in this market. So it's below my budget, which is like amazing. The location was everything. Like it was right in the middle area next to all the train lines and everything. The cons though is that it was a basement unit, which wasn't even the main thing for me. I mean, I know the basement units get rats and roaches and bugs and stuff. Like it's more prone to that, but I still really cared to see this unit just because of the price point and location. Only reason why I didn't submit an application to this place is just because there was the literal line when I got there, like to line up and see this place. Like it was a huge line of people just waiting. As soon as I came out to talk to the guy, everyone else was already talking to him and people were already submitting and filling out the applications. And while I still could have applied to it, it just didn't have everything in the cards for me, because also some of the cons is that it was kind of dark. There was not a lot of light since it was a basement unit, and the view was the trash bins outside of the front building. I don't do well with bugs, to be honest, so I don't even know if I'm set out to live in a basement unit yet. And then I toured a studio on the Upper East Side for $2,500.
We're 5 days out now. I'm a little bit stressed, not gonna lie. Like just constantly on the verge of tears and just like so freaking stressed out over this. So I'm hoping something works out. I have 2 tours today, 2 studios, and then 2 more tomorrow.
First off, it had an elevator, which was really, really nice. It was also super spacious. It was one of the first studios I toured was an actual livable space, and it was in a really safe location on the 5th floor and very, very sunny, and there was laundry in the basement, so it was in building. And they also took third-party guarantors, which was, once again, like I mentioned earlier, very rare for these old landlord type buildings to be doing. So the fact they took third-party guarantors was amazing. The cons though, it was a bit on the upper end out of my budget. I know I said $2,500 was in my budget, but $2,500 with utilities on top of that is kind of out of my budget. The Murphy bed was also included. I'm not hating on the Murphy bed, but like it takes up space and you can't take it out of the apartment. Like it just comes with it. There was also no stovetop, so I would have to buy like a little stove to cook things on. And I also was going to submit an application to this, but the only reason that was stopping me is because it was a co-op approval board type thing. When you submit an application, everyone within the unit of the building has to approve you. That's just how it goes, I guess. And she said it would take about 2 weeks, and I only had 6 days until my lease ended. This was on the 24th of August, and I was moving out September 1st. So we're getting really, really close to the end of this.
I basically just sat at a cafe in the area for 4.5 hours. I actually got a lot of work done, so it makes me feel somewhat better. I was in kind of a bad mood earlier just with the co-op thing, and now I'm touring another apartment. It's also on the Upper East Side, and this one's also a $2,500 studio.
And this one, low-key, was my dream apartment. If I was going to get a studio, it would have been this one. The pros is that the location was so freaking good. I was right next to the Trader Joe's on the East Side. There was a separate living room space in this studio. I didn't see this anywhere else in any of the other apartment tours I was doing. And also, the girl that was living there, she lived there by herself, and I was talking to her, and she seemed like she loved the place. And she also had it decorated. It had a full-on kitchen, and inside the bedroom, it had a double closet, mirror doors too, so it really opened up the space. I can't talk any higher about this apartment. apartment. Like, it was gorgeous. I think it was on a 4th floor walk up, but like that did not matter because it was so perfect.
Oh my god, my heart is beating so fast because I feel like that's the one. I like everything about that apartment. The only thing I'm worried about is getting around the income requirements to make the application.
The main thing is that they needed a guarantor that was not a third party, and the guy was looking for me to submit the application literally that night. And I know that the rollout process is super like quick with New York, so I'm not hating on the guy. Like, that is completely normal, but I just did not have the time to go like find someone that could be my guarantor that wasn't a third party. This unfortunately would have been the apartment if those income requirements didn't get to me. The next place I toured was another studio on the Upper West Side. This was a basement unit as well, and it was rent stabilized, and it was going for $23.50. But this basement studio was a lot nicer than the previous one we saw. The pros of this was, once again, the location was just too good. I mean, that's why I'm touring these basement places in the first place. It's not because I really want to live in the basement unit, but like the location these places are at are just so freaking good. And the lighting was really good in this one too. Like, it was actually really sunny for it being a basement unit. It was on a quiet street, and it was a decent sized living space. Like, I could actually have a couch and a twin bed in this as well. Full-on bathroom, full-on closet. Like, the past tenant lived there for 5 years prior, so that makes me feel really good about that as well, because probably wouldn't have a bug infestation if they were living there for 5 years. I don't know. I did receive the application on this. She said that she would take third-party guarantors. She was like, I don't know what that is, but sure, let's do it. This is literally less than a week before I needed to move out, but I toured another studio on the Upper East Side for $22.50. I saw on the listing that it had a separate living room space, which I really liked, but when I saw it was so dirty. I don't know who was living here, but it was some guy in his middle-aged 20s, and it looked like he got evicted or something, because she said he moved out, but like all his stuff was there. And I don't know, it was just weird. The bathroom was also low-key really nasty as well. It was just a weird layout as well. Like, the kitchen was, I don't know, like, it was just a weird layout in my opinion. I mean, you can kind of see in this video right now, like, it's a nice long living space, like, and you could have a separate bedroom on the one side, but it's just a weird layout overall. But the main con about this place is that they had a 15% broker fee. This lady was charging $4,000 on top of everything else I would have to pay. And I wanted to apply to this apartment, but I did the math and I'd be spending over $10,000 just to get the apartment, so we didn't go with that one. And then the last studio I toured was also on the Upper East Side, and this place literally would have been it as well.
We are now down to 3 days before move out day, and I still don't have a place.
I emailed them in advance. They take third party, so I have a good chance of getting it. So let's go. This place was $21.95, so it's also within my budget. As you can see, this place is also decorated because the guy's still living there, and he decorated it beautifully. Like, I appreciate when you can actually see the potential of the space. The main pro about this is that it was rent stabilized. It had a beautiful bathroom and kitchen, like very large spaces for a studio at least. But there was laundry in building, which is really nice. The only cons about this place, it was really far from everything. Like, it was in a weird area on the east side. Like, it was so far on the East River that it was an 18-minute walk to the train, which is just like, you have to walk 20 minutes just to get somewhere. I did start an application in line when I was seeing this place, and I was going to submit the application, but I just ended up finding a better deal literally that night. I was also just witnessing people literally submit their applications while they're in line. There was like a line up the long stairway, and like everyone else is getting ready to click submit on their application as soon as they go in and see the place. It gets a little competitive out here, to be honest. Now we're gonna get into all of the one bedrooms that I toured in this video. There's only 4 of them, and I toured them each with like different people with different living situations. These 1 bedrooms would be flexed into a 2 bedroom, so the living space in each of these units would be used as the 2nd bedroom. And I personally don't want to live in the flex or fake room, so I would be living in the true bedroom in all of these tours. The first one I toured was very early August, and this one was on the Upper West Side, and it was a 1 bed for $34.95, and divided by 2, it'd be $17.48 each. I was touring this place to live with one of my old roommates, and the pros about this place is that it had lots of light, it was very spacious, and it had beautiful high ceilings, and the location is literally like 4 steps from the train. The only cons about this place is that it was an older building, so there was no laundry and no doorman, but for that price, I feel like you got like a lot of good value with that as well. The same exact realtor showed me another place across the street that was also $36.95. It had a very similar layout. Once again, same exact pros and cons, like lots of light, high ceilings in an older building, so there was no laundry or doorman, but it was still within that same central area, like 2 steps from the train. And then he also showed me another unit 1 block over, and it was a 1 bedroom bedroom, but it was kind of hard to flex. So I didn't really like engage too much in this listing. I was like, this one, it really isn't for me because we're really trying to flex it into 2 rooms. This living room was like combined with like the front door when you walk in. Then I toured this 1 bedroom in Midtown for $35.90, and this would be $17.95 each.
This building's in the middle of like Midtown Times Square. Not really a fan of it, but the layout and everything's perfect for what I'm looking for. So that's the only reason why I'm touring it. And it's only like a 15-minute walk to my school. This place also has a Marriott hotel connected to it, so it's really Midtown. I don't know how I feel about the area though, but it's near like all the subway lines. Transit-wise, you can get pretty much anywhere.
And I was touring this for a random person I met on Facebook, and the pros about this is that the building had a doorman, elevator, or rooftop. It was within Times Square, so the rooftop actually was really, really cool. Like you could see Central Park from it and also Times Square. The cons about this though is that it was a very, very outdated building. Like the building was giving like really old like 1950s hotel room. I don't know how to describe it, to be honest. It was also basically in Times Square, which like I'm really not trying to live in freaking Times Square. Literally my worst nightmare. The main con about this place though is that it was really hard to flex with the wooden ceiling bars like on the ceiling. So like it would be really, really hard to put a ceiling to floor wall there. And also there was carpet in the main bedroom and it was really, really gross, like super dirty. The bathroom had mold growing like from the vent and on the faucet and stuff. Like it was really, really dirty. And like this place was already like vacant. Like the person moved out and they supposedly cleaned this. So the fact it didn't look clean was just like really concerning in my opinion. Then we go into another apartment tour for 1 bedroom that was actually in our current building that I was living at. Another one of my roommates that I previously lived with. And this was going for $4,200. So it's $2,100 each. So the pros obviously about this is that we get to stay in the same building. It had the same exact amenities, literally had everything. It was just like a couple floors down. And the cons about this place though is that I wasn't really saving much money. With my old apartment building, you had to pay for all of the utilities. You had to pay for like electric, heat, water, gas, literally everything. This place also had no view, so it was low-key kind of a downgrade because this unit we toured was like in the middle of the building and it faced like that bottom courtyard. So it was not as sunny and just like low-key a really ugly view, like a brick wall view. My roommate and I also toured another unit in this building for $4,800, which was $2,400 each. And it faced like the main water. It was gorgeous, but like obviously that was just way too freaking expensive. So that unfortunately wasn't in the cards for me. The next place I toured was a 1 bedroom in Hell's Kitchen / Times Square. And I met the broker for this actually on Facebook and she was gonna get me a roommate, so I didn't even know who I'd be living with. And it was $4,800 gross, but you would get a 1 month free. So the net rent was $4,430. And since I would get the true bedroom, my room would be $2,360, which in my opinion is a bit high. The pros though is that the view was so nice. Heat, water, and gas were all included in the rent, which was really nice. And the building had normal amenities like a gym and a rooftop, laundry, all of that. The view from this unit was honestly the best one in this entire video. It was gorgeous. The only cons about this is that it was right next to Port Authority in Times Square, which is like low-key not really a safe neighborhood in my opinion. Less than a 1-minute walk from the station, but the station was Times Square Station. So like I just didn't really want to sign up for that being my main area. And I also would be moving in not even knowing who my roommate is. I also asked for the application on this and they were telling me like to post on Facebook looking for a roommate, and I'm just like, girl, I move in literally 3 days from now. I might have also went forward with this place, but literally that same exact day, that night, I actually found this place that I'm at right now, so clearly I went with this place. Now for the 2 bedrooms that I toured. I only toured 2 buildings.
Now on the way to tour a very promising 2-bedroom. This one my roommate's also interested in as well, so I'm hoping the tour goes well because this is like the best you can get. Like it has an actual living space. It's not like the 1 beds I toured earlier where we would have to flex the room into a 2-bed, and it's like within our budget too, which is amazing.
This place was a true 2-bedroom for $36.80, which would have came out to $18.40 each, which is so cheap and so good for what you were getting.
There's so many people outside applying for this apartment. I'm like kind of nervous, to be honest.
The pros is that the location was perfect, right across the street from the subway. There was also a package room, lots of light, and a beautiful separate kitchen and a bathroom. The living room was also separate, so to have all of those rooms separate, it was just like a very, very big and large space. And for the cons for this place, there's literally nothing. Like there's no cons to this apartment. The only thing is that they were looking for an immediate start date, and my roommate and I wanted a September 1st start date, and I saw this apartment on August 3rd, so this was very early in my apartment search. She also didn't know if she was going to be getting this certain job offer or something. It was all just too early, and there were so many people seeing this apartment. I literally would have paid an extra month of rent for the August rent to like secure it or something, but she just wasn't up for that yet. And I totally understand that. The only thing is that there were so many applicants that wanted like an immediate start date, so it clearly went to one of them. But that was literally like the perfect 2-bedroom apartment. Like, it was gorgeous. For this last building for the 2 bedrooms, we're doing a big jump for August 25th. This is literally 1 week before I'm gonna move out of my old apartment. And I was working with this real estate agent who had a bunch of units in Long Island City. And I went out there to tour a few places with her.
I'm about to do 4 tours back to back, and I have a really good feeling about this. We're like literally 4 to 5 days out from move out day, but I have some luxury apartment tours coming up. They're only in Queens, that's the only thing, but I don't care anymore.
In the first unit, 202, my room in this would have been $2,005. And this is a true 2-bedroom that would be flexed into a 3-bed. The pros about this is that it was a beautiful building. Like, this was the nicest and only luxury building I toured in this entire video. It had amenities, like nice gym, a rooftop pool, and laundry was in units. And I was very close to living in one of these units actually until the place I found came up. All of these units were very similar to my old living situation building wise. I would just be living out in Long Island City, which is in Queens. It's across the East River, so I'm not living in Manhattan. And the cons for all of these units is that I would be working with a broker for all of these, so I would actually have to pay a broker fee, but I didn't mind that. And also, one of the reasons why I was so hesitant about this place is just because of the location. I never really experienced Long Island City before. I know it's a really good neighborhood, but the area that building was in, there was nothing else around besides high-rise apartments. It was on the water, but in a really isolated area in my opinion. It was only by the 7 train. The 7 train, when you take it into Manhattan, if you know, it goes horizontal. It doesn't go up or downtown. So every time I would have to go into the city, I would either be transferring at Times Square or Grand Central to go up or down to school, to go downtown, to go uptown. Literally anywhere I would have to be transferring at those 2 places, which is just like a nightmare. I know I said earlier in this video I wouldn't mind taking the train to school, but to be transferring at Times Square every single morning to go to school just isn't what I want to be doing right now, to be honest. Because I started touring these units on August 25th, and because I wasn't having a lot of luck finding a good studio apartment, I was very close to signing on this place. Clearly I didn't go with it because I'm living in a different apartment now. Now on to the Facebook bedroom. I probably reached out to over 20 people in total. I got lots of videos and pictures from just random people who had rooms open. That's basically what a sublease is. It's basically a group of people or just one other person who already has the lease and the apartment, and you're just temporarily moving in for a short time, or they could add you onto the lease for another year or something. Like, they're all very different with different terms. You can look for a short-term sublease. I was mainly looking for a long-term one, which was 1 year. But when you're subleasing, someone already has the apartment, and you're not starting from scratch with doing a brand new application and getting approved. You're literally just getting added onto the lease, or even sometimes they draft up like a fake contract, so you have some terms and you just live at their place for 3-4 months or a year, 2 years, vice versa. I did see over 20 though, like throughout videos, all on Facebook DMs, and the first one I saw in person was a 2-bedroom on Orchard Street, which is in the Lower East Side, and this was $22.75, which in my opinion is really steep. The pros though is that it was in a really secure building and it was in the downtown area. The only reason why I didn't go forward with this place is just because it was really expensive for what it is. I was getting really close with my apartment search on here as well. This is about like 8 days before my move out date, so I was heavily considering this place. I couldn't justify that price for the bedroom I was getting. It also like faced the back courtyard, so it wasn't very bright. Now we get on to our last apartment in this video, which if it isn't obvious enough, it is the one I ended up going with. I reached out to her literally that morning and was able to see the apartment at 6 p.m. that night. They had someone who fell through with signing the lease, so they needed someone really quickly. And since I needed a place really quickly, after seeing this, I was like, yep, this is where I'm gonna live. I'm not going to disclose the exact location just for privacy reasons, but this was a 4-bedroom, and I'd be getting the master bedroom in this 4-bedroom apartment for $1,875. Let's take a round of applause for that price point. Beautiful, right? Location is near everything. It's super close to the train. It's super close to restaurants and cafes. It's so close to Central Park. And it has 2 bathrooms for 4 roommates. I would be sharing a bathroom with only one other person. The whole unit and my room was bright with big windows, so much sun, and it had a true living room. So I'd be living with 3 other people and I still would have a true living room and a true kitchen, no flex walls. And the living room windows were like beautifully curved because it was a corner unit, so much sun, literally like windows all around the entire apartment. And the fact I'd be getting the master bedroom for under 2K is literally insane. It's only slightly smaller than the previous room I had, not also downgrading on space too much. So the fact I'd be able to fit like a desk and a chair, a bed, and all my stuff would be going in this main master bedroom for $1,875, I was like, yes. Now there are some cons to this apartment, and they don't come lightly, but you just gotta remember all the pros like I just said. But the first con is that there's no AC. I mean, we're entering winter, so I guess that's great, right? No laundry. So I do have to go to a laundromat. And it's a 4th floor walk up. Like I said earlier in this video, my max would have been 2 to 3 floors, but you know, just an extra flight of steps. They'll keep me in shape. Another con I have down here is 3 roommates, which the only reason why I have it as a con is just because it's more than what I had and more than what I intentionally planned. After living here for 2 months, I live with the sweetest girls, and I feel like it's also just special with the unit we have just because we have so much space that it also doesn't feel crammed at all. A group of 4 of us might seem like a lot for a small New York apartment, but this apartment is huge. Honestly, I find it as a plus. Now for my final decision. As you guys saw, I went with the 4-bedroom with the master bed. It's just such a beautiful apartment too. I even have a fire escape. I'm so excited to keep continuing to decorate it. I mean, you can kind of see a sneak peek of it as right now. The whole outcome of all of this is just like such a blessing because it was literally like 4 days before my lease ended on August 28th. I messaged my now roommate at 12 p.m., saw the apartment at 6 p.m., and literally moved in 3 days later. It was such a fast turnaround. And if I didn't find this place, I literally would be living in Long Island City right now, which would have been nice. The apartment and building was beautiful. I'm just so happy with the area I get to be in, and I'm so glad I got to stay in Manhattan. And to be near Central Park, all the stuff that's around me is just so nice. Like, I'm really happy with the outcome of this apartment hunt. Even though it was like the most stressful thing in my entire life. All my friends and family were just like, have you found a place yet? Do you know where you're living in like a week? And I'm like, no, I don't know. I do explain a lot more of it in my move out vlog, and if you want to watch the move out vlog, I'll link it down below. I walk you through me packing up all of my stuff, saying goodbye to my old apartment, and also moving into this room as well. I also do a full in-depth apartment tour as well. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful if you're trying to find or rent an apartment in New York City, or if you're just here for the vibes. It's really interesting to see what you can get in the city, and it's such a gamble sometimes. If you made it up to the end of this video, comment down below this secret emoji. I like to do this in my comment section to see who's actually watching up to the end of my videos. And then also follow me on Instagram at Katelyn _. I've been super active on there. Subscribe to my channel if you want to. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys all very soon with some more vlogs and the bedroom makeover. It's going to be a good one, I promise you. Bye!